Welcome to the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Kennedy, and I'm here to help you become the very best version of yourself. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Fitness and Lifestyle Podcast. I'm joined by my good friend, Steph. Steph, welcome back to the show. I think this is your fourth time as well. I was chatting with Laura last week and I come to the realization that I think it's the only time anyone's been on 4 times. So congrats.
Oh, I'm honored, Danny. You must love us.
I expect you to hang that up on the wall behind you there at some point as well. An achievement. Hey, it's been a long time since we've got to hang out or even really catch up, even via Zoom. But it's fair to say there's been a lot of change in your life over the last 12 months, which is extremely exciting. So firstly, I wanted to ask you, how much has your life changed since having Harvey? For those of you that don't know, Steph gave birth to a beautiful little boy, Harvey, and he's doing extremely well. But how much has your life changed? Because I know you're extremely driven and motivated, and you're someone that's always on the go and super busy, obviously, with Keep It Cleaner, as successful as it is. So how much of a change has that made on your day-to-day life?
It has made the biggest difference ever, like a huge difference. But basically, it's hard to kind of compare to life before Harvey, because life before Harvey, we were still in lockdown. So we were still working from home, and that life was still very different to my life before that. It was very hustle and bustle. I was in a different state most weeks. And, you know, it was really busy lifestyle, and lockdown kind of taught me that I did need to slow down, and that I actually work best when I do have time off, or at least like a slow morning or a slow afternoon, and to mix that in with work. And I think when you run your own business, you don't work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, you work every day. And especially when it's something that you're super passionate about. And so I think, I realized that I couldn't put my all into Kick if I was always go and always busy. And so lockdown was kind of good for that. And I was pregnant during lockdown, and now with Harvey, who's 5 months old, still in lockdown. And I'm kind of in this like limbo semi-mat leave where I'm sort of available to the team and sort of still at work, but not full-time again. And I'm certainly not ready for that either, because whilst Harvey is now sleeping better, his sleeps have gotten a lot better than they were a couple of months back, but I'm still catching up, and I'm still feeling sleep deprived almost every single day, where my brain just does not feel like it can function like it used to.
I'm intrigued on that. So like what are some of the things that you've done or I guess things that you've figured out that will actually help to somehow still be productive the next day and also just get everything that needs to get done and also, I guess, be happy, be like a normal person and still be able to do the things that you want to do. So like if you're missing out on sleep, is there any certain things that you've found that have helped, whether it's to do with nutrition, hydration, meditation or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is like finding the right balance is so important, because if I don't balance my work and my life, you know, the team won't get the best version of me, and then also Harvey won't get the best version of me. So for me, it's I've got 2 days a week where I'm available to the team. You know, they can book in an appointment any time of that day, and I'm there and I'm ready. And they're kind of been my regular days each week, obviously still working from home. And then on all the other days, you know, things like this podcast, for example, or other important meetings might pop up, and that's cool. I'll still schedule them in throughout the week. But I found that now that I've got those 2 days where I try and keep as my busy days, it gives me the rest of the week to fill in a few gaps with other little bits that I need to do, but then also have a lot of time off to either just rest or just be a mum, to be honest. And I found that, you know, because I am quite a driven person and because I'm so passionate about what we do at Kick, there's been weeks where I've been like, I'm available for that meeting. I'll do that meeting, and I'll fill up that week full of meetings. And then halfway through the meeting, I've got major regrets because I'm not there yet. I can't be there yet. So I think when it comes to making sure when I know I've got something coming up, making sure I'm going to be my best. It's making sure I've got that balance, but also I would like to say that I could be that person who, sleeps when Harvey sleeps, but I just don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got too much else on. And also at nighttime, it's like once he goes down at say 6, that's like Josh and I, that's our time when we can finally kind of just watch TV or, eat dinner together and just kind of be with each other. So it's easier said than done getting an early night. And I'm certainly struggling with it. I like to still stay up late, even though I'm sleep deprived. It's a really hard thing to tackle.
That's an issue. Yeah.
But eating well, keeping hydrated, moving my body every day, even if it's just a walk, they're all things that still make me feel like me and keep my mind, working well. And then, as I said earlier, just not overcommitting.
How have you found that? I know you kind of touched on it just then, but myself, for an example, like if I have a specific goal, if I'm not working towards that, and I say for a whole day or even like half a day, if I'm not doing something along those lines, I just feel unproductive. I feel like I'm not really giving it 100%. So obviously, the responsibility of having a son is huge, and that's extremely more important than anything else. But in saying that, being used to constantly working on kick and that being your number one priority, have you found it hard on the days where you are just with Harvey to then just switch off completely from work and still feel like you're 100% committed to that, if that makes sense?
Yes, it's a constant battle. And it's one of those things where, even to someone like Laura, I preach to her, like make sure you have some time off and like don't feel guilty for that time off because that's how you refill your cup and everything. And it's something that I'm super passionate about and I know it helps me, but I'm still guilty of, taking that rest time and still thinking about work in that rest time or like, still feeling a little bit guilty of not working at that time. So it's kind of a constant battle, but I still make sure that I do it. I know how important it is for me to give it my all when I am on. I need that rest and I need that time off. So, but yeah, as I said earlier, especially when you run your own business, it's your baby. I mean, Kik was my first baby. So
Harvey's number 2.
I mean, number 2 time-wise, but
yeah. In terms of body image, now I know like even before you got pregnant, you were really good with this already. Obviously, you spend a lot of time working on your body with training and you take your health and fitness obviously super seriously. But at the same time, you were more than okay with sharing images or talking about the topic of, no one's perfect and, everyone has their flaws and whatnot. Once you became pregnant and, obviously you start growing human inside of you, your body changes a shitload. So how did you deal with that? Like obviously already having that open mindset to everyone having their flaws and whatnot. But once you start seeing your body change that much, in all honesty, like how did you feel with it mentally?
It was kind of a bit of a roller coaster because I think in that first trimester, you start putting on a little bit of weight, but you haven't got a bump yet. And so it's like, you just kind of feel like, oh, I just want a bump already. So I don't know, it's this weird thing in your head that you just think it makes more sense when you feel pregnant to actually look like you're pregnant as well. So there's a little bit of a battle there, but I think that was just my old kind of insecurities kind of creeping back in. And I realized that pretty quickly. And I think the other thing to mention, when you're pregnant, I'm sure everyone who gets pregnant does the same, but like I just started reading and researching all of this stuff of what was happening to my body at that time. And I was just so fascinated and blown away with the female body and what was actually happening. And so I became more consumed with how incredible my body was and how amazing it was and this miracle that was happening, rather than looking at what it looked like. And the same kind of, I took the same kind of approach when it came to heart and body as well. I find it really fascinating. I think it's bloody incredible how, the uterus literally just contracts back down to its size and down to its place, and all of your organs just gradually go back to their position. And, some things don't go back to the way they were. And that's kind of expected when you've had a human growing inside you and everything's been squished to the side for a while. So again, I think I was trying to just focus on what my body was doing rather than what it was looking like. And, there is still like days, I've been on a really, really good journey with my body image. It used to not be a very good relationship. And I would say now I have an incredibly good relationship and I feel really good in my own skin. But that's not to say that every day feels amazing or that every day I look in the mirror and like what I see. I think it's really normal to have insecurities, and it's really normal to for those insecurities to kind of ebb and flow. And I think when it comes to a postpartum body, it's a new body, it's a new me. And I'm just kind of along for the ride and appreciating, again, what it can do rather than what it looks like. And for me, I was just really keen to get my body back moving. It was really hard in that period throughout the last bit of the pregnancy where I couldn't move like I used to. Like, I think I was limited to, walking for 1.5 K and just some light physio kind of base kick bump Pilates. And I was so used to being able to push myself more than that. And then, in the 6 weeks postpartum as well, obviously you can't do anything. And so that was really hard for me because, moving my body helps me so much mentally. And so I was really, really pumped to get back into exercise and really, really excited. And, I got a few comments from people saying like, oh, you're just so keen to like bounce back. And I was like, absolutely not. Like I, was not focusing on bouncing back physically. Physical change with exercise for me, sure, it's an additional and it's a positive. And like, I'm not going to lie, it feels good when you see change and, you feel good from the inside as well when you see change and everything. That's obvious, but it's not the core reason I exercise. And so I think whenever I'm not feeling 100% in my own skin, I just focus on, everything else, like what my body can do and challenge it in those kind of ways. And that's how I get through it.
I think it's also relatively important to mention as well that even though, as you mentioned, your main reason or priority may not be for the physical side of things, like it's fine if it is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
exactly.
like, this is the thing that frustrates me. And obviously I haven't gone through it because I haven't and never will be pregnant. But, but yeah, it's just like, so what? Like if someone genuinely loves feeling and looking good and they've put in all the work and the time to look that way and they've given birth, the baby's healthy and things are back to normal, who in their right mind wouldn't want to get back to where they were before when they feel good, they look good, and it's something that they can work on every single day? I mean, it shouldn't be anyone else's business to tell them otherwise.
100%. And I think it's one of those things that like, obviously like through Kick, we're all about like, it's not how you look, it's how you feel. And that's only because like for me, for example, if I focus too much, if that's the core reason I'm exercising, which it was, back in the day, that was the only reason I exercised back in the day. I didn't really move my body for any other reason than to lose weight. That was really triggering and damaging for me when it was all I focused on. So nowadays, that's how I've found balance with moving my body and, giving it the right nutrients, is doing it for different reasons. Still having physical change in the back of my mind and like, still appreciating it if it happens, but it's not the core reason. So I think that way, because I'm not focusing on anything in particular, I can appreciate the journey and, I'm not getting too fixated on something or too disappointed.
Not constantly thinking about the end result.
Yeah.
On the topic of the training side, how much did you find? Obviously, this is the first time you've given birth, so you haven't got anything to compare it to. But how did you find keeping up with some form of physical activity and particularly keeping stronger through, I know we talked about a number of times, like staying mobile through your hips, which is something you did, activated through your glutes and everything. Even speaking to other people who have given birth before, did you find that staying at least on track with what you could do with the training side of things helped the recovery afterwards?
I think absolutely. I was really, really fortunate. Everyone's pregnancy is so different. Some women are bedridden, honestly, for most of their pregnancy. And so, you can take my experience with a grain of salt because it's not everyone's experience, that's for sure. But I was feeling really, really good. Even in my first trimester, I was working out almost normally, like still my normal routine of strength, HIIT, a bit of boxing, lots of walking, Pilates, yoga, like the whole mix. I was still doing pretty much halfway through my pregnancy. I just, if something didn't feel right, I didn't continue it. If, my head felt a little bit lighter, I obviously stopped doing that. And then more towards the end was when I switched over to kick bump, stuff. So physio-based Pilates and walking. And I still loved walking. But as I said, it did get to a point where my hips, I had a bit of pelvic girdle pain and everything. And there was a little bit too much pressure down there. And walking even became a challenge. And that was so weird for me because that's something walking is 100% for my mental health. Like walking is just my meditation every day. And so that was really challenging. And then again, coming out of postpartum, I think it helped a lot that I was able to stay quite fit, relatively fit throughout my pregnancy, because then once I did get the clearance postpartum, it's not like I had, 10 months off exercise.
Yeah, 100%.
I only had a month or something, a month or two off exercise. So it was a lot easier to kind of regain some strength and some fitness. And I definitely haven't gained it all back. I'm still super motivated to, feel as strong or as fit as I once did. Sorry if you can hear that. That's Harvey choking on a toy. That sounded worse than it is. It's not a tiny toy.
That should be good for the podcast. Yeah, nice.
No, he's got a teething toy, and he just has this habit of putting things way too far into the back of his mouth. Anyway, and so, I think it definitely did help. I think if you're physically able and you have clearance from your doctor to keep your body moving throughout pregnancy, I think it would make a huge difference with not only the recovery, even like keeping up with the endurance of like having the baby, that in itself was a bloody marathon. So I think it definitely helped, and I'm very, very grateful that I was able to do that.
Just on the topic, before we move on, just on the topic of the social media side of things, when I was chatting with Laura last week, we spoke about, I can't remember how we got on the topic, but it was something along the lines of like, as yourself and Laura, and this goes for, I guess, anyone who's the face of a brand, what you post on your own personal social media becomes less about just you, and all of a sudden you're pretty much posting on behalf of Keep It Clean every single time you put up anything, I guess, to an extent. So, I mean, like how cautious or how much thought do you kind of goes into like the stuff that you're putting up on social media, like on a day-to-day basis? And like, is it something that you and Josh had to talk about even like after having Harvey, as whether or not like how much you wanted to share, I guess, your own like personal life and family stuff on social media, considering like, I know you've copped a lot of it over the years, but like people continue to just have their say, even when, pretty much about anything you put up, there's always going to be someone that's not happy with it, and people that want to have their opinion, which is fine. But in the end of the day, there's an unfollow button for a reason. So like, how much thought goes into the stuff you're putting up? And then also, as I said, did you have a discussion about how much of Harvey you wanted to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that Laura and I have always been super authentic over social media. We've always shared a lot of ourselves throughout the years. But, we've also both grown up. I've grown up a lot since I joined Instagram. And so if you scroll back, there's probably many posts that I put up that there's no way I would put them up these days. But I think that's okay. Like I'm not about, going and clearing anything that I once posted, because I think I've learned so much and I'm okay with showing that journey, I think. And when it comes to the posts these days, yes, absolutely. We are so connected to the brand, and it is really important that we don't put anything damaging out there. I mean, not that, we're not the kind of people who would do much to damage the brand anyway, because the brand really does, like, we stand for everything the brand stands for. Our personal values match the brand's values. So it would be very odd for something in our behavior to not kind of go align with the brand. But it is something I'm definitely aware of and that I keep in the back of my mind. I mean, the biggest thing is we're a huge influence on a lot of young girls and a lot of young women. And it's really important to me that I don't put anything damaging out there that could, hurt them in any way or influence them in the wrong way in any way. So absolutely, I think about it. And then when it comes to Harvey, we did have that chat. We both kind of came to a place where we believed that as long as we didn't go too overboard, we were comfortable with sharing him. I mean, we share everything else.
Everything else, yeah.
I share my entire life on social media, and just didn't feel right to me personally. I totally understand why people don't, but it didn't feel right personally for me to not share it, because it was going to be a huge part of my life. Like, being a mum is a huge part of my life. And yes, I could, put up angles and stuff where his face wasn't in it, but it just wasn't something that we were too worried about. And what we've done to kind of combat it is, so that we weren't flooding our pages with photos of Harvey and the internet wasn't just getting, endless Harvey from all angles. We've set up a private account, which is, where friends and family can get all the day-to-day updates and stuff that we just really want to share because we think he's cute, or, he's tried his first egg or something like that. We've got something like that.
Done his first push-up.
Yeah, that'll be great. So yeah, I think that was our way of kind of tackling that decision, but and we're comfortable with where we're at.
Has there been any major things that kind of stand out to you, like, I guess, perspectives or I don't know how to word the question probably, but like certain things that your view on it has just completely changed since having Harvey, or things that maybe were of a lot of importance to you before, which you just really couldn't give a shit about now, or just have a very low importance in your life now?
I think what I've learned, when it comes to motherhood in particular, I've learned that, basically, unless you are a parent, I just don't, even if you are a parent, you shouldn't judge another parent, because there are so many ways to do it. That's one thing I've learned, is there are so many different ways to parent. And I honestly don't think that there is a wrong way. I think you've just got to do what works for you and the baby, as long as it's safe and it's not going to harm anyone. I think, when it comes to how they sleep, where they sleep, how they eat, when they eat, all those things, it just is whatever works for you too. And as long as you've had guidance from your trusted health professional, then you do you. And I think what I've learned from that is I am so there to support my girlfriends who get pregnant over the years, like, because I'm one of the first of my mates. I am there to support them through anything now. I think I've learned so much, and I've just learned that the importance of having a community around you, or the importance of having other mums to lean on, to say that, that's totally fine, or don't worry about it, this is what happened to me. That is something I didn't realize was so necessary and so important. So that's probably one of my biggest learnings. And then I think just in general, I'm looking at life a little differently. I'm appreciating every little moment with Harvey, and I'm almost crying weekly at like happy tears, because there's just so much in life, especially with him, to do with him, that's bringing me joy right now. So I think that's been a really, really cool thing, because, we're in lockdown. We're on like almost day 300 of lockdown here in Melbourne. And there's that is really depressing. And like, I've had some really, really hard days mentally where I've really, really struggled. But I think being able to kind of focus on little things that he's doing, or little developmental things that are happening, or just being proud of how Josh and I are coping as parents, as new parents, those kind of things, and focusing on those things are getting me through those tough times and making me feel really, really fortunate. And yeah, I'm just so ready to be free and to just live life to its fullest.
100%. It's funny, isn't it? Another client of mine, his partner had been pregnant and given birth as well, like throughout lockdown, and like her friends literally didn't even see her pregnant. Pretty much, like pretty much like the next time they see her, she'll just have a baby out of nowhere, like no one's even seen where it's come from.
Absolutely. I'm sure there's so many of those stories.
You mentioned before, obviously you read up a lot on the changes that were happening to like physically throughout pregnancy. Is that something that you and Josh are doing now in terms of like how to actually parent, or are you kind of like along the lines of just kind of do it on the fly and do it your own way and kind of figure it out as you go, or are you trying to like study up on certain ways on how to parent in certain different situations and whatnot?
Definitely leaning on people for advice more so than reading now as parents. Like I've got a couple of women who are like my mother's group, and I go to them all the time for little tips and tricks. And then obviously, his doctor or my doctor for the more medical kind of
Yeah.
questions. But yeah, we're just kind of winging it. And I think what we've realized is that that's what everyone does. I mean, even no matter how much you read, I don't think anything could really prepare you for it. And as I said before, there's so many different ways to go about it. So what I noticed when I was reading a lot of parenting books was each book was kind of a different way of doing it. And so it just kind of confused me.
At the end of the day, it's just someone's opinion.
Exactly.
Every single book you read is someone's opinion.
Exactly. So kind of put down the parenting books. I mean, there was one that was called The Motherhood that I found really, really helpful, because basically it was a whole bunch of different Australian mums who kind of wrote a letter to their newborn, their postpartum self. And it was kind of the letter that they wished that they could have read at that time. So it said stuff like, I know you're feeling lonely, or my God, your nipples are so sore, or like just all this really real and raw stuff that they were saying back to themselves. And I read that before Harvey came along. So I read that before birth. And I think it just prepped me for everything that could possibly happen as a new mum with a newborn. And so when I was having those really rough times or really rough days or questioning myself, I felt like I wasn't alone in that. Like I knew that like every other woman experienced it. So that had a baby. So yeah, I think you can read as much as you want, but I think until you're in it and you're just dealing with it every day, that's the best way to learn, I think.
I can imagine. With your goals, like physically and on the business side of things, like what's that look like for you at the moment? I guess over, say, the next 6 to 12 months, like do you have anything aside from just getting back to normal full health and building up your strength and stuff again? Is there anything that you're kind of looking towards or aiming towards physically, and then also obviously with the business as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently, short-term goal, I've just started the Kick Run program with everyone else, and I'm so excited to run 5K comfortably. Running has never been my favorite form of exercise, but I think it's just been because I compare my, running fitness to others like Laura, who's a gun. And, I don't kind of just focus on my own goals, and I'm really excited to just gradually get there so that from there I can see how I feel about running. And I have a feeling that I'm going to like it a little bit more than I do right now. And then other than that, as you said, I just kind of want to get back to feeling, strong and where I once was, and be able to get through a kick workout or two and feel like really good, and not feel like, oh my God, that was the hardest thing ever. So yeah, looking forward to feeling fit and healthy again. And work-wise, I'm pumped to get back. We've got so many exciting things lined up for Kick. And it's one of those really hard things I'm trying to balance at the moment, because the passion's there and I really want to be a part of everything and every discussion and jump back in. But as I said, I'm not mentally or physically there yet. So as soon as I feel ready to, commit to more days, I'll be there, because I love it. I love it so much. And, Josh and I are really fortunate where he's really flexible with work and looking after Harvey. He's been so hands-on as a dad. So, I will be able to, and I feel so fortunate because I know, so many women, it is really hard for them to kind of go back to work once they've had a bub. So I'm really, really fortunate to have that as an option, and I will absolutely be taking it up when I feel able.
I think that's also the beauty of the fact that you both just love what you do, is that it most likely wouldn't even feel like going back to work. It's almost like you just can't wait to get back to doing your hobby, really.
Yeah.
A couple more things I wanted to ask you, Steph, before we wrapped up. So I also asked Laura this the other week, these two questions. So the first one was, when, after you both released like the initial ebook, I believe it was initially, like, where in your mind, like in all honesty, where did you genuinely see like Keep It Cleaner going?
I honestly didn't look past the ebook. Like, I just thought we were going to do an ebook, and then, maybe if it went well, we'd do another ebook. That's, to be completely honest, there was no, for me anyway, I don't know what Laura said, but like business trajectory or anything. At that time, it was honestly just a fun project that we got together and did. And yeah, I had no idea. And there's no way, if you told me that this is what happened, there's no way I would have believed you.
How about in comparison to where you hoped or expected it to go after launching the app, like initially? I think 2017, I think it was.
Yeah. I mean, again, like even when we first started on the program, we were still kind of balancing a lot more. I was still modeling almost full time, and we were doing heaps of other stuff. And it was still just kind of a passion project on the side. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it is whilst now, you know, it's our job, it's our career, and it's our business, it's still our passion project. So I think that's what's really special about it is we've got, you know, so many huge goals now and really exciting things coming up in the future. But it still just feels like a startup and a really like fun, quick culture in the business and everything, because that passion is still there. Absolutely.
Keeping, you might want to hand Harvey a microphone.
I was going to say, he's really trying, isn't he?
Hey, legend. Now, lastly, staying on that topic, when did you, like, was there a moment for you where you kind of thought to yourself, like, this is it? Like, Keep It Cleaner is what I'm going to be doing, like, as my career for, like, the rest of my life, like, or at least for the time being. And it kind of transitioned from that, you know, the side hustle, like passion project, over to a career? Like, do you have a distinct moment where you really remember that?
Oh, I don't think it was like one particular moment, but anytime we get to connect, which is why I'm so upset that the Kick Tour has been moved again for the second year in a row, but anytime we get to connect with the community in person, you know, whether it be through a fitness event or any event, anytime even if we just meet someone on the street that says, I do Kick, I love Kick, this is how it's changed my life, that is our biggest why. And those kind of moments are the whole reason that I do it, but they're the moments that remind me, like, yeah, this is what I love. I love doing this. This is awesome. We're making a positive impact on people's lives. And there's something so special about that. And so, I mean, I don't think we'll be doing it for the rest of our lives. I don't know if people want to see us working out with you and we're like 80, but no, definitely for the foreseeable future. I'm so fortunate to call it my job, and yeah, we're both very, very proud of it as business owners, and yeah, excited to show you what's coming.
Amazing. Well, Steph and Harvey, thanks so much for joining me today. It's been a great conversation, and looking forward to doing the next one, hopefully in person, and catching up with you guys. And I know Danielle's keen to come and probably kidnap Harvey at this point. Now she talks about it. But for everyone who's tuned in, a big thank you for listening to this episode today. We'd love for you to take a screenshot of the episode, post up an Instagram story, tag myself, tag Steph, and we'd love to hear your feedback. But Steph, again, thanks for joining me, and looking forward to number 5.
Oh, thank you. I'm looking forward to 2. Bye.